Hi folks, we're back cutting through the matrix and talking about the system, what's happening in the fallout and so on, and there's a lot more to come, of course, there's tremendous changes, but I go back again to some of the documentaries I put up in the past and the links to eugenicists at the end of World War II who wanted all of society tested and trained into to be the proper citizen, and they gave speeches in Parliament and so on in Britain and other countries of having the right. Psychiatry was on a roll. They thought they had the right to go in because they thought all society was mad because of the wars. They didn't mention you're the same guys running the system back then as you do today, or even before then. It's the same big money thing, and the takeovers of countries for economic wars, basically, and benefits and resources. So I'll put all these links up tonight, remember, too. And just before I say something else, there's also another link, too, to do with the new agreement they've had at the top to do with basically putting the carbon taxes on. A big speech came out today, and I'll put that link up on cuttingthroughthematrix.com at the end of the broadcast so you can go through it. They really want to tax carbon like crazy, and the woman actually said, the spokesman for the group that's into it, and gave it out today, she said that they're going to have to really tax them really high to try to dissuade folk from using carbon at all, and she wants all fossil fuel vehicles off the road by 2020. So I'll put that one up today. So it's all on, their whole future's written out. I mean, it really is. It's all planned way ahead of even before you've ever heard about carbon problems or global warming, or now it's global cooling and all the rest of the nonsense. It's all to get political and social agendas through. Now, for those folk who've listened for the years, this is the last night I'll be on RBN. And they're having a big shake-up there with guests and so on, and hosts. And I was asked to take the weekend slot. Now, you know I've been off for a few weeks, Mondays and Fridays, and had repeats on because I've been getting the wood in for the winter. I was short last winter, and weather's been terrible this year too, for rain and so on. And what I do here, I have to go through hundreds of articles a day, even for the few I might read on the air. And that's a full-time job. That's from morning till night. And then after the broadcast, I also put up on my own websites. I've already upload them up, so you're finished about 2 in the morning. And so you have no time, 5 days a week, and then into the weekend even, for your own life in any way at all, to write and so on. And I put lots and lots of, I've got hundreds actually of requests to go all across the world on shows. And I haven't done any for a year because I didn't have the time to add that on to what I'm doing with RBN. So I'm looking upon this as really an opportunity to catch up, get things done here, and not only just read news articles, because I like to go far, far deeper than the news articles. Anybody can read news articles for you and say, oh, this is terrible, oh, this is awful. There's lots out there doing it. I prefer to go into the histories of it, the techniques of it, and so on, at a much, much deeper level to show you how old these techniques are, things like that. And so I'll be putting up blurbs again too on cuttingthroughthematrix.com website. Don't forget that. Maybe I'll have a week off in the meantime to finish off the wood and get some repairs done around this house that's fallen down. And maybe even get a coat of paint on the truck. The old truck's looking pretty bad. So I need this time as well. So it's worked out that way, I suppose. And as I said, I don't want a weekend show. And I certainly will be able to do an awful lot more of the proper stuff really that I really like to do, rather than just go through the news articles and fill in all the bits they omit in the actual articles themselves, where I go into why they're happening and the organizations behind why things are happening, not just the stories themselves. Because it gets kind of tedious for me just to fill in all the gaps for people, although it's helped so many, and I have so many emails every day of folk thanking me for. It's not really waking them up, it's putting things into perspective and making sense of things for the first time. And so I've had a lot of reward out of doing this too. But physically, I'm telling you, I can burn you right down and burn you out because you don't have a normal life in any sense. And on the weekends too, you have so much to do, even to do with the coming week, that you have no time for anything else. It really eliminates everything else that you do. So I hope you will still look into cuttingthroughthematrix.com. I know you will actually, and look forward to hear me on as guests on different shows and conversations with different people with different views and different areas that they're into with this whole world system. And that should be really interesting for a change to get really into interesting stuff. Because, as I say, you can read the news every day. And just keep in mind that it's presented without telling you the history behind why the article is appearing, who's behind, or the movement behind the article appearing, and what they want to gain out of it. You're being trained all the time, folks, into austerity for one thing. And you're being trained into an authoritarian society, as they said at the Club of Rome in the 1970s. And not to be even concerned with what politicians are up to. They're training you away from that. Just be happy, play yourself, have lots of sex if you're young, and party, etc. You've been trained to keep out of the things that it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks down the road if you haven't taken action, got involved, woken yourself up, woken others up, and don't panic over what you know. Don't sound like a screaming maniac when you try to relate things to people. Stick with little bits at a time, because it's not many areas you really have to cover. They're very simple. And don't get caught up in just today's news, because the media, as I went through the history of it before, it's a cartel. And every media mogul is a member of the CFR. And in Britain, it's the Royal Institute for International Affairs. Every top politician for 100 years has been a member of this too, regardless of the party they belong to. They're vetted and they're put in. They play the game. And Carl Quigley himself said that in his own book. He should know, since he was their personal historian in charge of their archives. So big changes are coming, and I hope to be putting lots of stuff up very shortly. Just keep looking into cuttingthroughthematrix.com for updates, and I'll let you know what I'm up to, and I'll put blurbs out too, and I'll also be on lots of guest shows which I'll have time to upload, because it sometimes takes 4 hours just to upload one show. So when I'm doing RBN at night, plus reading all the stories during the day and getting back to people, it's burned up. You don't have time to upload more shows. So if I can take at least one every other day from abroad or wherever it happens to be, then I'll be able to upload them without burning myself out and get to bed at a decent time at night. And that's what I'm really saying tonight. So for all those that have followed me all these years, I thank you for listening. I hope I've helped. I've not sold you a bill of goods. I don't mislead you into being addicted to the show, to fear and horror and all that kind of stuff. I don't sell you lots of things to keep you going in the future. I just try to give you the basic understanding, which is more important than anything, of really what's happening, why it's happening, why maybe you feel the way that you do, without knowing why. I'm sure if lots of these youngsters, as I say, I read about tonight, had happier parents with more of a prospect to look forward to, so would the children. As I went back to Maggie Thatcher again, when she said a generation's going to grow up in their lifetime without seeing work, in their whole lifetime. Get used to it. She also opened up all the bar hours across Britain. Used to be closing time about 2 or 2:30 in the afternoon, open again at 5:30 or so, and then till 11 at night. And she stopped all that. She opened them from all day, saying it's better to have them drinking their welfare checks in the bars than out in the streets protesting or rioting, she said. And you think you're not being managed. Right down to the education, what you think is education that you get, where you're being standardized into the same opinion on everything by the teacher, group thinking, and you'll be ostracized if you have a different opinion at all, your own opinion, or God help you, you might even get drugged. Put up for drugs by a psychiatrist. Rather sad, isn't it? And this has been going on for an awful long time. So go into the archive section, remember. Give yourself a darn good history and understanding of the system and how it came to be, of all the organizations, institutions, all their goals, names. And nothing will surprise you. Nothing will surprise you, folks. In fact, what I read on the air is like watching a repeat movie. You've seen it so many times before, and they call it news, because you know what's coming every step. From Hamish myself, Ontario, Canada, is good night, I mean, your God or your gods go with you.